Join me, Sean Hall, for the Scuttlebutt podcast, a program about understanding military culture from a civilian perspective, every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern and Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern on Reads Across America Radio. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Scuttlebutt. I'm your host, Sean Hall, Director of Programming with the Veterans Breakfast Club. We're a nonprofit in Western PA whose mission is to create communities of listening around veterans and their stories to connect, educate, heal, and inspire. You can check out everything that has to do with the Veterans Breakfast Club on our website, www.veteransbreakfastclub.org. We have a great episode of the Scuttlebutt here for you today. It's been a long time coming. We were very interested in veteran-owned businesses. Well, we were able to connect with fellow Pennsylvanian Jeremy Mock. Jeremy is a Marine Corps veteran and current Navy Reservist who opened up Glass City Café in his hometown of Jeanette, PA. He was there, said, I feel like the downtown Jeanette area, it's a small town, needs to be revitalized. He got a small shop and turned it into Glass City Café. You could check them out at glasscitycafe.com. He has a great story about his service, what he learned through the Marine Corps, what he's still learning in the Navy Reserves that sort of helps him be a leader and a business owner. He uses that Glass City Cafe to connect with other veteran-owned businesses to bring in his merchandise and his products. It's a really good feel-good story here today on the Scuttlebutt, so I hope you enjoy it. Please like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell on YouTube so you're the first to know whenever we release new episodes. And if you're listening for the first time on Reads Across America Radio, please check us out on YouTube. Just go there, type in the Scuttlebutt. You should be able to find all of our previous episodes. So happy to have you join us as an audience. And you can always send me an email, Sean, SHAUN at veteransbreakfastclub.org. I'm always interested to hear from the audience about thoughts or comments, questions, or ideas for future Scuttlebutt episodes. If you have a piece of military culture or military history that you'd love to see featured here with a veteran, happy to do that. That'd be really exciting for me. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining the Scuttlebutt. I'm really excited by having you on and to have a conversation with you about everything you have going on here in Jeanette, PA, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Pittsburgh here. But it's a pleasure. I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. So it's Jeremy Mock, former Marine veteran, current Navy Supply Corps officer. As you alluded to, we recently opened up a coffee shop in Jeanette, obviously veteran owned, and our mission with the coffee shop is to support other veteran owned businesses. So our supply chain right now, we have a coffee company that supplies all the coffee for us. It's a veteran owned company out of Pennsylvania, and then also a tea company that is an Air Force veteran, and we use a cookie veteran out of the Periopolis area as well to Operation Cookie to supply all our goods and services for the coffee shop.
That's great. So let me dive into a bit of your history of service before we get to Glass City Cafe.
That's correct, Glass City Cafe.
Awesome. For our listeners, we'll have some links. We'll get to all that in a little bit, but let's dive into the Marine Corps a touch. When did you enlist?
So back in '99, May of 1999, I went to boot camp at Parris Island, and I spent most of my career in the reserve side out of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, with NWSS out there, and then spent some time active duty after being recalled as a reservist, and then got out for a short period of time from the Marines and moved over to commission in the Navy.
Nice. So when did you make that switch?
In 2011. So I did 99 to 07 in the Marine Corps, and then took a 4-year hiatus, and then got the commission in 2011 with the Navy, and I'm still actually a reserve officer as well.
And was that 12 years later now, 2023? You're still in the reserves. And why did you decide to enlist?
I guess just duty of service. So my family had all been veterans in different branches of the military, and wanted to continue their tradition, if you will.
Who else served, and when and where did they serve?
So I've got a brother and sister that both did the Navy. My father was in the Army, a lot of Army. We didn't have any Marines in the family, so I thought it was time to join the Marines and get one on the list.
What did they think of that?
A little bit of pushback at first,
Yeah.
But I think once we went through the boot camp process and came back, and once I think everyone came down to Parris Island, saw the graduation ceremony, it was a moment of pride for everyone in the family.
What did you think of the Marines when you joined? Is it something coming from a military family, you kind of had that background, but was it a culture shock in a way?
I think any branch of the military is a culture shock from coming from the civilian world, especially the Marine Corps. One of the hardest basic trainings out there, and Just the pride and camaraderie in the Marine Corps, I think, is unparalleled against the other military branches. So it was definitely an experience and a culture shock coming in. I remember I first left boot camp, walked out of the gates of Paris Island. We stopped at like McDonald's as the first place just because I hadn't had it for a while. And it was just kind of, taken back. It was just how much you change within that 3 month period of being down there. You have a whole new perspective on people and things. And it really is a life-changing experience.
I always ask a Marine this because it's sometimes true, but with Marines, it always seems like it's true. Did you have a nickname during boot camp?
I think we all had nicknames during boot camp. Mine's pretty simple, Mock. It pretty stuck pretty simple. You get the different Mockingbird, Machiavelli, things along those lines, but all pretty much just Mock.
You mentioned how much it changes you in those 3 months. What would you say is the biggest change that happened with you?
I think me personally, just new perspective on things. I think, going through boot camp and the experience really kind of pushes your limits and kind of pushes you beyond what you think you can accomplish. And that was the biggest thing on my side. Coming from a small town, just being able to challenge yourself and know that, you can get through things, whether it's physical, mental, just that toughness they instill in you in boot camp, I think is definitely a plus for the Marine Corps. Now, all services do, but I think the Marines do it the best. I'm partial to them, but.
So obviously you joined in 99. 9/11 happens, 2001. Take us through how things shifted for you at that point.
Yeah, no, I was in college at the time. I was actually working a part-time job while in college, and I remember getting the phone call as I was standing in my job saying, "Pack your sea bag," after the towers were struck. So it was a reality check in many ways. So really just kind of rethought about everything. You're in college, hopefully finishing up. I was about to graduate college at that time, and the reality set. It's time. My country needs me. So we packed everything up, got ready to go, and then waited, and then finally got the call and ended up mobilizing down to New River Air Station, Camp Lejeune. So I didn't see any overseas time, but did support the backup for the MWSS 272, which deployed over to Iraq. So we were kind of filling in for them here on the stateside.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So when you enlisted 99, you were reserves then?
Correct. Yep.
I've always been interested in this because, I always tell my audience I'm a civilian, not a veteran. So I sometimes get to ask really dumb questions of veterans because a lot of people may not understand, like there's a difference between National Guard and reserve and active duty. And, as a reserve, especially during peacetime, what is your responsibility and how does it feel like you're living two sort of separate lives in a way, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially during college, it was unique experience because you got everyone going out on the weekends to the bars and whatnot. And then, I'm packing up and getting a haircut and heading over to my reserve weekend to kind of train. Basically the main mission of the reserves is you're always ready, be prepared for whenever the nation calls you up. So that was kind of what we did. We would just train. We had our 2 weeks in the summer or throughout the year, and then a weekend trainings where we would kind of go through and just learn what we need to learn if we were ever deployed or activated. So I think when I got that phone call, it really set in because a lot of times when you're in the reserves, especially during college, you're not thinking about what you're doing and the training that you're going through and what you're learning and why you're learning it. But when you get that phone call, it all kind of brings a sense of clarity.
And you had to be anticipating that phone call after the towers were struck. That's did you see that happen? You're like, all right, it's go time.
Yeah, pretty much. Didn't realize it would be as fast. As a lot of people say, the military's hurry up and wait, but the tower struck and within hours I had a phone calls, just the phone tree, get yourself ready, get packed, get ready to go. We don't know what's going on, but this is a major event in the world. So be ready for it. So, and that's the main difference with reserves is you're kind of on standby for, when they need you and where they need you.
How did it feel being down there and sort of being support for remind me, what was the unit or?
Yeah, so it was MWSS 272, Marine Wing Support Squadron out of New River Air Station. So
which is very German to me, or not German, but it's a different language to me. Could you that's just the military fancy talk for what the unit is, right?
Correct. So we're basically the truck unit. So we did Humvees 5 tons. We supported the Marine Wing, so all the rotary wing assets at the base. Um, it was eye-opening, coming from living in college. Obviously gone through boot camp, knew kind of what to expect being active duty military, but it's still an eye opener. You're
Hmm.
going from that more relaxed civilian state, and then right into it to the active duty side. So it's definitely an acclimation period, getting used to it. And with everything going on at that time, we were working 7 days a week, 12 plus hours a day. Just prepping, getting everything ready, helping those guys mobilize, and then really learn our job as we were down there. On the reserve side, you do it 1 week in a month, so you're in no means an expert. So you've got a lot of skills to learn, and honestly, just getting used to the acronyms again, and the change of pace from civilian life to military, and happened in a blink of an eye.
And you stayed in until 2007. How long during that time from 9/11 on were you actually active, or did you go back to reserve status?
Yeah, so it was always in reserve status. We
Oh,
did get
okay.
activated. The exact dates I'm not 100% sure of. 01, 02 timeframe through like 03. So I spent about
Mm.
a year and a half on active duty down in New River. Did some assignments from there, did some TDY duties over to Yuma, Arizona. Spent some time out there as well. But yeah, mostly all reserves with the active duty recall.
And what would you say is probably the thing that you learned the most? I mean, coming out of boot camp, that's a different, like you said, you changed a lot in that 3 months, but after doing some active duty and being in support roles, things like that, how did that sort of help to change you and set you up for what you're doing now?
So I think a lot of it was confidence. Being from a small town and not really leaving that small town. Being sent, you're not overseas, but just to another location, and you're with a lot of other folks from different cultures, different backgrounds. I think it really helps you expand your own personal growth, and really look at things a little bit differently, and taking in all these different cultures and backgrounds help you create a better picture, and see clear what's going on in the world versus your small area that you grew up and never left.
And why did you decide to get out in '07?
I was just getting older, tired, working. Had a full-time job at the time, and just really wanted to focus on my career, starting family, and going down that avenue. So the reserves were great, but it's a commitment as well too, with the 1 weekend, 2 weeks, and I was getting a little older too. You start breaking down a little bit, and the Marine Corps is tough on you, and you're sleeping out in sub-zero weather on the weekend, and you had to come back in on a Monday and go to work. It makes it a little bit challenging sometimes.
Yeah, just a touch, yeah. So you're out for about 4 years. You go back in Navy. Any reason, and what was calling you back to it?
Yeah, so I miss the camaraderie. Being in even the reserves, you really build a bond with the folks that you drill with and you work with on a basis, and that relationship is just something you can't replicate in the civilian world. I've been at multiple companies, and you just don't ever really have that bond that you have with someone in the military. And I kind of miss that. So after 4 years of hiatus, like I said, I was working in a job where I was doing some more government work, working with some contracting officers. And one of the officers had mentioned the Navy Supply Corps to me, and I had no idea anything existed like that, or direct officer program. So I started researching it, talked to a recruiter, and it was kind of what I wanted to do. I just felt the need to get back in and support where I can. I didn't necessarily want to support on the ground level, but
Mhm.
is there something I can do with a business degree to continue supporting the country? And the Navy Supply Corps came in place, and here I am today.
Excellent. So yeah, let's dive into where you're at today. You're Navy Reserves, but what brought you to become a veteran business owner? What made you want to help support veteran-owned businesses? Sort of being a veteran entrepreneur. How do you develop that sort of acumen?
Yeah, so me, the passion really started working with the Department of Veterans Affairs. So my company, EGA Associates, we provide staffing services for the VA hospitals. And when I was working before I started EGA, working with another commercial healthcare system out there, or hospital or healthcare staffing firm out there, really noticed that a lot of companies didn't want to work with the government, specifically the VA, because of their processes, because of all the paperwork, all the red tape, all the complications. And to me, I saw that as an opportunity to, not only fill a gap that was out there in the industry, but also be able to support the veteran community and help deliver services where they need. I'm not a physician, not a nurse. I can't do hands-on care, but if I can help fill those critical gaps by my knowledge from recruiting, it was just something that I felt like I needed to do. And then with the coffee shop, seeing the opportunity there in the community, which had seen better days, growing up in the town. I remember it, bustling, always going down and hanging out in downtown Jeanette, and then coming back, years later and seeing storefronts closed up and boarded, and it was depressing. So really saw an opportunity down there. A business that we had known for years and frequented was on the market, so I was able to kind of pull things together and work with my sister to kind of get the property and then open the coffee shop. So it took us about a year to do the renewal, remodelation, renovations, and then we finally opened up here in March of this year. So it's still new to us here, but it's exciting to get back. And the reason I went with veteran-owned companies, I've been part of a few entrepreneur startup programs like Bunker Labs and some other veteran-centric entrepreneur programs. And I think they do a really great job educating folks. I think where the gap is actually having the ability to support veteran-owned companies. I think that's the biggest challenge to any veteran that wants to start a company and get into the industry is, getting that first opportunity. It's a fight until you win that first contract, you get that first deal. Whatever it is, it's a challenge. And if we can have a platform where we can help veterans get them started, provide some guidance and benefit from it, I think it just helps the community as a whole.
Is there something about being a veteran of the military that specifically sets you up for success in owning a business?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that go into detail on for that one, but I think the main one that drives me is just the I don't want to say the grit, I guess, that they train you in the military to get through things, and you're able to handle some of the head trash that comes with owning a business.
Oh wait, no, wait, head trash. That's the first time I've heard that term.
Yeah, just the why am I doing this? When
Mm.
you're struggling as you're starting a company, there's a lot of uphill battles that you've got to fight, and to get through those battles, you just have to have the grit to be able to do it and know that the reason that you're doing for it is what's driving you. It's not always about revenue and about profits. It's about doing the right thing, especially with our mission supporting the veteran community with the VA and in Jeanette. It makes me get up in the morning and want to keep doing better and keep pushing forward.
You mentioned something about support of veteran-owned businesses, and so many times I've heard that sort of spoken by veterans. Like, I want to do something with my business that supports veterans-owned businesses. Do you feel that there is sort of a lack of support for veteran-owned businesses, and that it's veterans like you that are sort of filling that niche?
No, I don't think there's a lack. I think there's a lot of organizations out there that do it. One of the goals of working with other veteran companies is that instant bond, instant camaraderie you have with someone, because you've all been through the same thing.
Right.
And if they're a veteran business owner, they're going to be there. They're going to respond to you. Not that commercial companies won't, but you just know there's an additional level of commitment to the business partner.
Opening up your cafe in Jeanette, and people can go to, what is it, glasscitycafe.com?
Correct. Yes, glasscitycafe.com.
Opening it up in Jeanette, and you saw that sort of need from your childhood to now, and just sort of helping to revitalize that area. We've talked a lot on the Scuttlebutt with different veterans and how much pride they have in their hometown, and that it is so important for veterans to bring that sense of service to the country back to their hometowns, to help in revitalization efforts, in leading community. Is that some, I'm guessing that is a bit of a passion for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my family still lives there. I still go there and visit often. And like I said, it was kind of depressing, driving down and seeing the boarded up storefronts, and you wanted to be part of the change, a part of helping making it better and bringing it back to what it used to be, and at least helping to revitalize it, get people back in town, get people moving around. You see so many small towns out there that were bustling at one point, and then whether industry or factory or something leave, people tend to leave the area, and you just have blank infrastructure. And it's sad to see these new buildings and new shopping centers being built everywhere. And we've got these like great little cool towns that are everywhere in the U.S. that
Mhm.
people just walked away from. And the character in the downtown of Jeanette is just amazing. And I want to share that with other people and have it there for the future, so it doesn't get knocked down someday and turn into a shopping mall or something. So
Well, even those aren't doing too well either. But
yeah, there's a lot of those vacant these days as well.
is there something about like the citizens of Jeanette? It's a very wholesome sort of American hometown. A cafe opens. I've looked on the internet. It's a beautiful cafe, and it's veteran owned. Is that something that they come in and it seems like there's a pride in from the community as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've had a great backing from the veteran community in Jeanette, and we were able to work with the town to establish a veteran only parking spot in front of our place. That way,
Mhm.
people know they have a place to go, and they're welcome there. And I think the veteran community really rallies around other veterans to support them. It's just it's good for camaraderie. It's good in a small town like Jeanette. There's a lot of veterans down there. Being it was a working man's town, if you will.
Mhm.
When industry kind of dried up, those folks are still there, and people don't want to leave their hometowns. I'd love to get back there someday if I could.
Okay, so why a cafe? Why not a bowling alley or a pool hall?
Great question. So the property that we brought was a restaurant cafe in the past. So the infrastructure was already there, set up. It
Mhm.
was pretty turnkey for us. And they used to do a whole bunch of food and different products, and we decided to kind of keep it simple and just go with coffee and pastries, baked goods. Just keep it easy, but also still have the ability there to support the community. And with that, we do have the spaces in the back where we're trying to set up some training classes, some education, and just have the spaces for veterans to go. If there's different organizations that need a space to have a meeting, we can provide that for them as well in the community. And we got good coffee.
Well, of course. Where do you get
You
your
need
coffee
that for a
from?
meeting.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, that's the
yeah,
only thing you usually need for a meeting, but
absolutely. Yeah, so our coffee comes from Cleona Coffee Roasters. It's a Army veteran. He started roasting his own coffee, connected with them via Facebook, and we started talking. And we get all of our coffee from him. And same thing with our teas. It comes from an Air Force veteran as well too. And she's also in Pennsylvania. Does a great job with the product. They both take pride in what they put out. So it was a no-brainer to bring them both in and get the products from those guys.
where do you get the tea from?
It's called Skirted Soldier. It's out of Portage, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And you mentioned also cookies. You get those from veteran-owned businesses, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, it's called Operation Cookie. It's out of like Perryopolis near the Pittsburgh airport area. So they do mostly mail order cookies for veterans or for military deployed overseas. And we connected with those guys as well too, and just want to support what they're doing, and really kind of, I guess, put our money where our mouth is. So if we're going to help veterans, we're going to buy products from them and sell them for the community.
Well, if there's anything I like more than coffee, it's cookies. So I'm going to be checking out Operation Cookie, certainly.
Oh, it's
Um,
delicious. Can't go
it-
wrong.
Now, you also, incoming from a really strong military family, are they also veteran business owners, or is that something that only you sort of like took that ball and ran with?
Yeah, so I think I'm the first one to actually start my own business within the family. I know I've got some other cousins and stuff out there that have some businesses as well, but I think the first one out of our small family out of Jeanette there.
Nice. And we've talked a bit about like what you've learned through your time in the Marine Corps, time being active duty, but what's different about learning to own a business?
Um, there's a lot. So it's not just about kind of waking up and doing one thing. It's really kind of learning how to manage different people, manage different processes, manage the overall I guess environment around you as well too. So it can be challenging at times. As I mentioned, the head trash. You get in there, it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I dealing with these different personalities, these different challenges of trying to find suppliers, find vendors, and you just kind of got to work through the head trash and keep it up. But yeah, it's just what drives me, just knowing what we're doing. One for the veteran community in the VA hospitals, and also for the local community in Jeanette.
What gets you up in the morning?
It does. Yep.
You know, Jeremy, it's interesting because sometimes I'll schedule a scuttlebutt, and I love doing this podcast, and sometimes I'm like, I wonder what the theme or the title of this episode will be, and it doesn't sometimes come to me until I'm actually within the conversation, and I'm sitting here thinking about, like, people are going to be listening to this not only through podcasts, maybe watch it on YouTube, they might hear it on Reads Across America radio. So I start to think about, okay, well, if I were a veteran who'd be wanting to open a business, what tips would I want from a successful business owner such as yourself? So I thought, you know what, Jeremy, why don't we just call this episode, should I open a veteran-owned business? And here's your TED Talk. Anybody that's looking to open a veteran-owned business, what are lessons learned that maybe someone can sort of glean from this episode?
Yeah. So main lesson that I learned and I still live by every day is it's one day at a time. You don't ever get ahead of yourself trying to think about the next big thing. Just focus on today's problems, get through it. You obviously keep the end in mind as you're working through things, but it's one day at a time. We used to say in boot camp, meal to meal or chow to chow, and wake up call to wake up call. That's how you got to kind of live in the business world as well.
And you got to have support. How do you find the people that are going to help to support this idea?
Yeah, and the support system is huge within a veteran or in any business. You need to have some mentors, some resources out there that you can trust and rely on that can kind of give you some guidance. I think building a business is there's no one right path to do it, but there is kind of a framework out there that you can follow to be successful. And I think being able to link up with those people that have been there, done it, is helpful and helps you kind of avoid some of the pitfalls of running your own business and doing things you've never done before. I mean, I learn something new every day, and that's kind of how I live my life. If I don't learn something new, then I'm not doing something right in the day.
And I'm saying support from family as well. What does your family help to support you in this endeavor?
Yeah, absolutely. So family has been huge, especially at the coffee shop they're modeling. I'm not local in the community right now. So, my family's been down there on a day-to-day kind of running the renovations, making sure we're up and running. And then, my sister's running the coffee shop on a daily basis. So she's down there every day and making sure that the coffee's hot and the customers are happy.
Why did you name it Glass City Cafe?
So Jeanette's nickname, they used to have a bunch of glass factories in the town, and it was kind of deemed the Glass City. So we just kind of kept that name and made it a cafe.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah. Not a lot of thought went into that one. It was pretty easy.
And this, how can people support the cafe other than just buying coffee? Can they purchase it online, or is that something that might be something in the future? Is there merchandise? Other than just visiting Jeanette?
Absolutely. I mean, definitely visiting Jeanette is key. Come in the coffee shop, come visit the other shops that are in there and getting up and running. We don't have the online just yet. We're working on that, but really the main thing is just coming into town, grabbing a cup of coffee, walking down the street, looking at some of the other restaurants and businesses are there, and just some more supporting the community in general.
I'm looking up a map here of Jeanette because I know it's weird in Pittsburgh. Oh, that's quite close because I live in sort of Mount Lebanon area, which is south of the city. Anybody that's listening here, maybe nationwide, who maybe hasn't been to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is filled with neighborhoods. That's pretty much all it is. You get a little downtown area that's probably like 5 to 10 miles ish. You can walk it in a day, or less than, probably an hour. And then you have a ton of little neighborhoods all around. And most of the time when someone says a place like Jeanette or West Mifflin or Westmoreland or, Monroeville, all these things, it's like, which way is that? Is that, and someone says, oh yeah, Jeanette's like, southeast of the city, about 40 minutes. You're like, oh, okay, I'll go past Kennywood and just keep going. And, that's sort of how we, here in Pittsburgh figure out where we're at on a map. Yep. Jeanette's very close. You could probably be there from the airport if you're going to fly in and check out Glass City Cafe. You're flying in, you have about 2 hours to spare, drive over to Jeanette and head over to Glass City Cafe for your cafe or your coffee and cookie to help support this. Jeremy, it's fascinating, really, I think, just to hear sort of the way that you've sort of developed through your service and into this business ownership and just the success that you've seen and you've had and the passion that you have for helping veterans. And maybe one of the final questions I have for you is that sort of passion for helping veterans. Where did it obviously stems from some bit of service and the family service that you've had, but not all veterans will choose that route out of their service. What made you say this is kind of my life's work?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just stems from being in the community, helping, wanting to support. And like I said, I was mostly on the reserve side, so I didn't spend a lot of time overseas. But a lot of my friends have, a lot of my family have, and want to be able to give back and share the culture, the experience. And, working through some of these entrepreneurial groups, seeing the opportunity out there to really do something different. A lot of the groups kind of do the same thing. It's the fundraising or the educational courses of it, but really just having a place, a space for veterans and others to come and visit and experience the culture. So we get a lot of veterans that come in the coffee shop and hang out, and it's cool to have them in there telling stories and talking about it because I think there's really value in sharing the story, especially for the future generation. As I'm getting older, I'm kind of looking back on things and looking at the younger generation here, and it's not the same time. So a lot of the younger folks haven't grown up and aren't going to serve or haven't served in the military. So just to share those experiences, cultures, and let people know, the history of not only the military, but the country, the town, what Jeanette used to be, and what it could be. Hopefully that people listen to this and it sparks ideas and sparks innovation, and they try to take some of those experiences and look forward because as a country we've come a long way, and I think as technology increases we kind of lose some of that the root of how we got here because things move so quickly these days and people don't
Mhm.
realize the time period it took to get here and the commitments and sacrifices that people made. So I think it's important to have a place that's just casual. People can come and talk through, share stories, share experiences, and carry the culture forward.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head with what BBC is. As you can see, anybody might be listening. I have a big poster for BBC Veterans Breakfast Club behind me. It says "Stories Unite." As one of our taglines is, "Every veteran has a story." So what you're saying is people sharing stories, and that has to mean something to you. Anybody who owns a cafe has to believe in some level of sharing stories because what's better thing to do over coffee is to share stories, and veterans are pretty much experts at that.
Great storytellers, that is for sure.
Definitely. In that same vein, can you give me your favorite memory from your Marine Corps days?
Oh wow. I guess I have to keep this PG. I've got tons of great memories. I guess some of the ones that stick out the most are just the nothing specific, but just the times that we've been able to hang out together. I know we'll working long days, doing different things, and you're just complaining and yelling and mad about what you're doing at the time. But the experience afterwards, when you kind of the after briefing, where you're talking through and just hanging out, the camaraderie of being in the military and being with your friends and knowing that that person beside you is willing to put their life on the line for you if you're ever in a situation, is it's a totally different feeling. It's something you don't get in the civilian world.
Mhm.
Being in college and having friends, it's a different level of respect and friendship that you make in the military. And I think overall that's my biggest takeaway. A lot of the folks I went to boot camp with and served with, still friends with, still check in, still got the fishing trips we go on, and try to keep that that alive.
Now, I'm also interested as a civilian when I hear of a veteran who sort of jumped branches. Now, I know it's once a Marine, always a Marine. And I would say that I would guess that you would probably hold your Marine Corps values maybe a little bit higher than the Navy. Um, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot on this one. Yeah, no, 100%. Yes, once a Marine, always a Marine. I know some of my Marine friends give me a little bit of grief about that because I think I've technically been in the Navy a little bit longer. But what 100%. Once you go through the Marine Corps training, the boot camp, and all that um, fun stuff that you deal with as a Marine, it's hard to give that up. But the Navy does definitely have a different perspective. So, and the nice thing about it is the Marine Corps still a branch of the Navy, so it's kind of one big family.
Do you have any kids?
I do. We have two little girls. We've got a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old, so they keep me pretty busy.
Oh, I hear you. I have a 3-year-old and a 2-month-old.
Oh
But
man.
say they come to you and they say, "Dad, I want to become a Marine." What's your advice for them?
Yeah, that's a long time off of that question here, but no,
You're not going to
I
say, "Well,
completely.
I'd say go Air Force" or something.
Yeah, no, I definitely would support whatever they want to do in life. my family supported me when I did it, even though there was a little bit of pushback at first because they're like, why the Marines? You're in college, you're smart, do something else. And it's not about that. It's about the commitment and what you want to do in life. And I would say the same thing to them. If you want to do the Marines, do the Marines. That was a good experience for me. Not everyone has the same experience in their branches, but I think the camaraderie in the Marine Corps is much tighter than any other branch out there, probably because they're smaller. But it's out there, so I wouldn't discourage them. I might try to push them towards the Navy or something that's a little different. But hey, the Marine Corps is changing these days as well too. So not everyone's running around in the dirt all day.
True. Well, Jeremy, I want to thank you so much for joining the Scuttlebutt today and for telling us about Glass City Café and giving us a hint of what it's like to be a veteran business owner. I'm sure that anybody listening in, if they are interested in this, hopefully they see you around. Jeanette, maybe at some time, can chew your ear for a bit. But otherwise, it's a pleasure. And to our audience, please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell on YouTube so you're the first to know whenever we release new episodes. You can always reach out to me, Sean, SHAUN, at veteransbreakfastclub.org with any questions or thoughts, comments about this episode, or ideas for future episodes. I'm always open to that. But Jeremy, I hope to get down to Jeanette at some point soon, because I'd love to check out Glass City Cafe and take in a coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you're in the area, stop by. I'd love to have you and have you check out Jeanette.
And I always promote, I'm a big avid chess player. You have to have a chess night. That'll bring veterans in, I think.
Well, we'll fire it up. We'll put it on the list.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. And
Awesome.
We'll hope to see you in another episode.
I appreciate it, Sean. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this episode of The Scuttlebutt. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Tobacco-Free Adagio Health. Tobacco-Free Adagio Health has been supporting the podcast for quite some time now. We've been so pleased to be supported by them. They are dedicated to reducing and preventing tobacco use and getting the word out about the hazards of smoking and secondhand smoke. They're all about health, so they want people to quit. They have classes, nicotine replacement therapy, and a popular quit line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW. They also educate people, children especially, about tobacco use from cigarettes, cigars, pipes, chew, snuff, and other nicotine products like vaping. And finally, Tobacco-Free Adagio Health advocates for public and private policies that ensure healthy places to live, work, and play. You can learn all about what Tobacco-Free Adagio Health offers at tobaccofree.adagiohealth.org. Or you can check out the 2 Scuttlebutt episodes that featured Tobacco-Free Adagio Health. We had a wonderful representative come on to the podcast, talk to us about all the classes and therapies that they offer. It was 2 wonderful conversations, so I definitely direct you to both of those if you want more information, or just call their free quit line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Thank you again, Tobacco-Free Adagio Health, for your support.